So whether you're a student staring down a mountain of varsity fees, a parent still paying them off, a business brain watching the JSC, an online shopper who swears by Bash, or just a history nerd that loves a good war story, today's show has got something for you. My friends, happy Friday. I made it, you made it. I've got a great feeling about today. So smash that like and subscribe if you're with me, and let's get into it. Oh, and just a quick announcement. This is very important. As you know, we've been testing different formats of our shows. We've got a big change coming up. From now on, the show will drop at 6 p.m. the night before instead of 6 a.m. the day of. Why? Well, some of you prefer watching in the evening. Our data shows this. And since our episodes are actually ready by then anyway, we figured, why wait? And so if you are a morning listener, relax, nothing changes. It's the same show, the same quality. It's just going to be waiting for you by the time you wake up. Cool? Cool. Now, let's actually get into it. So back in the day, having a degree usually means having a job. You studied, you graduated, and you just got a job. And that job, believe it or not, usually covered your living costs. Now, even the lucky few who land work straight out of varsity are stuck in these entry-level roles that barely cover transport, let alone rent. So most end up still living with their parents. Others, though, don't find jobs at all. And all of this, paired with rising costs and capped NSFAS housing allowances, is turning student debt into a slow national bleed. So according to a report by News24, 8 major universities are now owed 8.8 billion rand in unpaid fees. And that number is still growing. I mean, at UCT alone, student debt surged 41% in a year. And across the sector, though, it's the same pattern. It's these ballooning balances, shrinking repayments, and worsening financial strain. So CPUT and TUT are among the hardest hit, but universities nationwide are all writing off hundreds of millions of rands and turning to debt collectors just to try and stay afloat. And honestly, I feel sorry for students. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place here, and it's a rude awakening. As for the universities, though, it's a crisis without a plan. So what do you get when a company reports a double-digit increase in sales, yet its share price tanks by more than 7%? I'll tell you what, you get a whole lot of questions. So that's exactly what happened to the Foschini Group yesterday. You see, the retail giant said that group sales rose 11.5%, mostly thanks to its UK acquisition, White Stuff, which gave the numbers a serious lift despite a struggling British economy. But pull back the curtain, and the local picture isn't nearly as pretty. So exclude White Stuff, and sales were only up just 2.5%. I mean, in South Africa, where most of us know the Foschini Group through the likes of Sports Scene, Jet, and At Home, clothing sales only rose 4%. So the one local standout here is Bash. I mean, we've spoken about them before. TFG's online platform is flying, up 40%, now making up 7% of its local sales and helping the group gain market share in a rather sluggish retail environment. With over 8 million app downloads and growing reach, Bash is quietly becoming one of South Africa's e-commerce juggernauts. But in saying that, Bash can only carry so much of the group. And with this UK boost already baked in, investors are now asking the question, what's next? So the headlines were everywhere. Ramaphosa and Trump had a phone call. But what did that actually change? Not much. So the call happened just a couple hours before the US's 30% tariff on South African exports officially kicked in, the steepest rate of any sub-Saharan country so far. And despite the breathless reporting, there was no last-minute breakthrough. The biggest takeaway here was that both sides agreed to, and I'm quoting this, keep talking. Now, I found that rather interesting, considering that South Africa already sent the US detailed trade proposals. We're talking multi-billion rand trade deals on gas, minerals, and agri-machinery weeks ago. And Washington didn't reject them, they just didn't respond at all. And so in the spirit of let's keep talking, maybe a reply would have been a good start. Because right now, that window to act is closing. While family-owned businesses and entire farming towns wait for a trade deal to land, entire export chains are currently being rerouted elsewhere. And in global trade, once those supply chains start shifting, they don't easily shift back. And before we cruise on to our Bagel Bite section, here's a few other headlines worth knowing. For starters, SAB says that Treasury's proposed alcohol price floor will backfire, hurting the poor and fueling the black market. Now, the illicit booze trade reportedly already makes up 20% of drinks sold in South Africa. 7 months after January's deadly Eastern Cape floods, defense officials are being pressed for answers. Now, they're blaming technical issues for the delay, while MPs said that the real problem is a hollowed-out disaster response system. And Cape Town's controversial cleaning and fix tariffs will head to a court showdown in September. Now, ratepayer groups and political parties are lining up to join the case, calling the charges unlawful and unaffordable. And on to our Bagel Bite section. This is the final one for the week, so let's end it in the win column. Alrighty then. What animal appears on the 5 Rand coin in circulation in South Africa? Is it A, the blue wildebeest, B, the black wildebeest, or C, a whale? Bonus points if you can tell me when this coin officially came into circulation. And on to our wildcard section. You know, one of the favorite questions I've ever been asked was, if I could visit any historical sites in the world, where would I go? For me, it's always been the old battlefields. I'd love to stand where the 300 Spartans held the line against the Persian army at Thermopylae, or to see like the misty hills where Braveheart and the Scots took on the English. But the truth is that some of the most iconic battlefields in the world are right here in South Africa, and we barely think about them. I mean, in school we learned about the Anglo-Zulu and the Anglo-Boer Wars, but we often forget, ironically, that they happened right here on our soil. So this brings me to the Battlefield's route, which is this self-drive trail through KZN that takes you from Isidwana, where thousands of Zulu warriors once outflanked the British, to Rorke's Drift, where a tiny garrison held them off. Then onto Speenkop, where a young Winston Churchill dodged bullets, and Mahatma Gandhi carried the wounded. The landscapes are raw and beautiful, quiet now but haunted by the scale of what once happened there. This isn't just history, it's a living museum, and it's in our backyard. And as for that bagel bite, the answer is the whale. I promise you, specifically the southern right whale. I mean, look at it. It was introduced in 2023 to replace the black wildebeest, and I genuinely hope you got that wrong, because I definitely did. And the fact that it's been floating around in circulation for over 2 years without most of us noticing says a lot about how little we're actually using cash these days. And my friends, that's it for today's show. Thanks so much for tuning in. Again, this is just your reminder that our next show is going to be coming out on Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Don't worry, morning viewers, it's going to feel exactly the same. It's just going to be ready at whatever time you wake up. Let's just say that. Hope you guys will have a great weekend. Take it easy, and I'll catch you all then. Cheers.